When Bishop George M. Murray addressed the 1968 convention of the Diocese of Alabama, he described his vision of a new diocese formed from counties in South Alabama and Northwest Florida. 2 years later, the primary convention of the new diocese met in December 1970 at Christ Church, Pensacola. Bishop Hamilton West of Florida preached, "The Lord said to Moses, 'Tell the people of Israel to go forward.'" The convention named this new beginning the Diocese of the Central Gulf Coast.
Bishop West and I got together after the decision was made, and he said, "George, one of us needs to go to the new diocese. They don't need to begin with the election of a bishop and have Florida pulling in one direction and Alabama pulling in another direction." He said, "One of us needs to go." And so we agreed that I would.
Bishop Murray established his office in Mobile in an unused building at Wilmer Hall Children's Home, a ministry of the Episcopal Church in Alabama since 1864. The new diocese included 17,853 baptized members in 57 congregations, 32 of which were missions, and 40 clergy, all male. The bishop and standing committee immediately went to work. They decided on initiatives which included developing property on Weeks Bay, given in 1930 by Mrs. Charles M. Beckwith, into a diocesan camp and conference center. The first summer youth camps began in 1973. New churches were added to a growing diocese, and a policy of financial stewardship was adopted, asking each congregation to pledge a percentage of its income to help support the diocese. In 1976, the General Convention of the Episcopal Church cast votes that reflected the changing times, but were controversial and unpopular among some parishes. The first change permitted the ordination of women. The second, and equally significant, was the adoption of a revised Book of Common Prayer. Not long after that, on June 11, 1977, Bishop Murray ordained the diocese's first female priest, Evelyn Seymour, at St. James, Fairhope, ushering in a new era of opportunities for women in the diocese. On November 15, 1980, the Reverend Charles F. Duval was elected to become the second bishop and inherited a diocese still grappling with its identity.
Most of the active members when I arrived as the second bishop still remembered when they were parts of Alabama and Florida. And so I felt like one of the first tasks that we had was to establish a sense that we were a separate diocese, Diocese of the Central Gulf Coast.
Programs like Cursillo helped foster that sense of unity by bringing people from various congregations across the diocese together at Beckwith Lodge for a weekend of spiritual renewal. Bishop Duval began his episcopacy with a passion for church growth and development to take advantage of the area's growing popularity.
The years in the 80s and 90s were good years for that geographical area of South Alabama and Northwest Florida. People were moving there, and we saw that as an evangelism opportunity to start new congregations and to expand the work of the diocese.
The diocesan office also moved from Mobile to a more central location, the former Greyhound bus station in downtown Pensacola. It became the diocesan office in 1989 and was later named the Duval Center in honor of Bishop Duval. In 1997, Murray House, an assisted living residence in Mobile adjacent to All Saints Church, opened its doors as a new ministry and was named in honor of the diocese's founding bishop. Toward the end of Bishop Duval's tenure, a storm engulfed the national church in the form of a growing debate on human sexuality and the place of gays and lesbians in the church. Some parishes in the diocese split, and 6 priests and 1,384 baptized members in 4 congregations withdrew from the Episcopal Church. Two congregations claimed church property. Both cases went to court. In May of 2001, the new bishop, Philip Duncan, began his episcopacy in the midst of inherited controversy. Less than 2 weeks after his ordination, he was in court for the final and favorable settlement of the church property dispute.
I think that the church was having a rough time at that point. Some people decided they had to leave, and others wanted to move forward.
It wasn't long before the diocese was hit by another storm, this time a literal one. In August of 2004, Hurricane Ivan caused massive destruction along the Gulf Coast, particularly in the Pensacola area. Churches, the diocesan office, and homes of the bishop and many parishioners were affected. St. Christopher's Church in Pensacola came to the rescue, offering part of their space for the diocesan office while it was being rebuilt.
It was a difficult time for the diocese. The sense of having ownership as we began to rebuild the diocesan office was very helpful, and the other congregations and clergy all pulled together, and that was a wonderful thing to see.
In another symbol of unity, in early 2005, the oldest parish in the diocese, Christ Church Mobile, was named as the Cathedral of the Diocese. It was celebrated in a ceremony of the seating of the bishop and the dean in April 2005. In 2006, the diocese mourned the death of Bishop Murray and welcomed the election of the Most Reverend Catherine Jeffords Shorey as the first female presiding bishop of the Episcopal Church, 30 years after the vote to ordain women. A new ministry at Fountain Correctional Center, north of Atmore, resulted in the formation of St. Dismas as a mission congregation of the diocese. When the Reverend James Russell Kendrick of Birmingham, Alabama, was ordained as the fourth bishop of the diocese on July 25, 2015, the church had experienced another milestone just a few weeks earlier. The Most Reverend Michael Curry had been elected as the first African-American presiding bishop of the Episcopal Church with a mission of evangelism and social justice. In the spirit of evangelism, youth programs were revitalized in the diocese.
One of the great joys in the last 4.5 years of being the bishop is watching the program that we call Happening to be resurrected in our diocese. Happening is a weekend event where the teenagers are sharing with teenagers about their own faith in God, and it's a time where they can ask questions, share their doubts, and also say out loud that I believe in Jesus. Happening is also an incredible way to raise up leaders, the next generation of leaders in our church.
The School of Ministry opened its doors at St. Agatha's, Defuniak Springs in September 2017. It provides a local school for the education, formation, and transformation of those called to ordination, either as a deacon or as a priest, and hopefully will expand into the development of lay leadership in the future. And once again, a hurricane tested the resolve of the Gulf Coast. In October of 2018, Hurricane Michael, a Category 5 hurricane, hit the Florida Panhandle, causing damage to many churches. Parishes across the diocese pitched in to help with the recovery. In our 50th year, the most recent diocese statistics reflect growth and change, showing 18,230 baptized members in 62 congregations. There were 48 active clergy, with 10 women priests and 5 women deacons among them.
To follow the likes of Bishop Murray, Bishop Duval, and Bishop Duncan is an extreme honor and very humbling for me. But bishops are just a part of the story of our diocese. There are so many people those in the pulpits and those in the pews, whose faith, hope, and love are vital to the story that we remember during this Jubilee year. So it's important to remember, but it's also important for us to reorient our lives from the past and to go forward into the future that God is now calling us. A future that begins each time we pour water for baptism. Every time we baptize, we pledge to reorient our lives once more to the life of Jesus Christ. And in so doing, we are renewed to go forward into the world, to seek and serve and strive, to go forward into the world to love, renewed to go forward to bear forth God's very presence and power in God's world.